Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another horror review. Seems to be quite lucky lately. This is 2 in a row that I'm actually getting half decent movies. But going by the title, if you've seen it already, we're talking about The Old Ways. This was released 2020. Another one just randomly found and turned out to be a pretty decent flick. So, premise of the story is we start off, we see young girl, don't know exactly what's happening, but story set in Mexico. There's some sort of ritual. It looks as if it's witch doctors, that kind of thing, no healing, and the girl's looking lovingly at her daughter, and then she changes. So quickly we realize that it's actually an exorcism taking place. So a bit of a twist. You know, your standard exorcism movies are usually Catholic priests and all that kind of stuff, and can get a bit cliche, but like I said, I've been lucky lately with some of the movies I've been watching. The last sort of batch was a bunch of stinkers. Now I'm getting decent ones, but really good flick. What happens is then we jump forward in time, and basically we see a young girl getting bundled into a room, bag over her head. All looks very sinister, almost if it's like a terrorist group or something, but it looks really nefarious. Pulls the bag off her head. Young girl, she's an American, she's come to Mexico. She's doing the usual stuff. I can give you money, ring this person, they can help me, that sort of thing. So she's under the belief that it's a kidnapping for ransom or something like that. Turns out it's the area is Veracruz, where our main character grew up. That comes kind of later, and the reason she's been brought there is because she ventured into somewhere that was cursed, not meant to go, and now the belief is that there's a demon inside her. And then we'll go through the whole story and ritual. Sorry, excuse me. I've been trying to hold this in. Just as soon as the stream starts, I get a flipping tickle in the throat. I'm trying to talk here, going, go away, stop it. There you go. Right, it's out now. I'm back to normal scheduling. Right, so does really well. It's tense setup. We've got good characters in this, which is always a bonus. There's nothing worse, especially these sort of movies, because it's a limited space. In this case, it's a room, small building, small number of characters. Then the pressure's on them to make the thing happen. There are special effects, but it doesn't matter because of the way it's set up. You have to rely on the actors to make this thing believable and get you invested, and they all do a great job. We're introduced very early on, so we have Javi as the character who brings her in, and he's basically chaining her to the bed, securing her, and then we meet Luz, the bruja, and she's all in her ceremonial gear. She's essentially the exorcist. One thing that's really interesting, because we see it here in the European continent, that when Christianity came, it overrode a lot of early practices. That's why there's so many pagan influences in like the Christmas and Easter and a lot of the sort of Christian festivals. In Latin America, it seems to have it's mixed in with the sort of Inca traditions, and it's created something really unique. There's almost I know it's a different area of the world, but that kind of voodoo aspect brought in, and that combination with like the Christian settlers has really created something like a sinister form of Christianity. And I'm not saying that to be derogatory. I'm saying it's really cool the way this, like the Bruja and that sort of branch, and we've seen it played out in a lot of Breaking Bad did it really well. We've touched on in Ash vs. Evil Dead. And this kind of blending became its own thing. So yes, there's the elements of Christianity, which almost looks as if they don't belong, which is true, they don't, because they've been brought in on top of something that was there before, but instead of it completely disappearing or resisting, what they've done is, and I don't know how true to life this is, I haven't really studied the sort of the practice or anything, but it's created this unique religious practice all of its own, and it makes for bloody good movies. Every time I've seen this played out, it has that combination of like the Holy Crusade versus something sinister and terrifying. It's really fascinating to watch. I love this, and this is what I've talked about before. There's so much stuff out there, and horror seems to find that the other franchises fail. They can't seem to wrap their heads around. There's a whole world full of myths and lore and practices, and just there's a whole plateau out there. You know what I mean? It's a banquet you can feast upon in terms of storytelling. And the only genre I see that actually makes use of this and embraces it and doesn't denigrate anybody, but brings in the bloody good story is a horror genre, like this movie. Does it really well. We see the tenseness between the characters. So it turns out that Cristina, the main character, she actually came down at the invitation of her cousin Miranda, and it turns out it's her cousin that brought her to the Bruja because they believe that there's a demonic spirit in her. And it all plays out, and then we find out she's a drug addict. She's basically a broken person, which actually plays out in this scene. I don't want to spoil it because I want you to go see it. That's kind of my go-to. If I don't like it and I don't want you to go see it, I'll spoil it. But I'll try and steer away the main plot points, but I'll give you the sort of story. So that exploration that she's lived in America, and she's carried the burden of what she saw as a child with her, and this has led to behaviors because, like, rather than escape, she wants her bag, keeps going on about her bag, and basically she wants her stash. She's hidden in her bag. So we're seeing that playing out. Not pleasant. That's the thing that will always. I don't know. We have a pretty hard line on addicts. At the same time, though, what a way to get yourself into that. That is not a life. When something becomes your master, and owns you, that must be horrible. Just can't see it. But we see us played out here as well. And then it's how will I put this? She goes on a journey. So there's 8 stages of the rituals she goes through, and the whole idea is to bring the demon out. And it's almost like a vision quest she goes on each time. And each time she goes on the vision quest, another bit of her life comes back. A bit of her emptiness, what's led her to this point. And it's really it's actually really heartfelt. I'm not I'm not a feelings type person, and people yapping about their feelings all the time, but this actually has some grit to it and has some emotional investment in the characters. And we see Cristina in particular literally battling her demons. Not just the one that turned out is actually inside her, but her own person, what led her to that point. I'm trying not to, we're getting the state. I don't want to spoil it, but it becomes like a battle of wills. It becomes, the demon gets identified, and then they're trying to basically exercise it, and it doesn't go to plan. Thing, it's a back and forth, real struggle. What I love as well about these movies, that what some of them are starting to do is these journals they're putting together, done really well. There's a lot to be said about that. Like the drawings, they've done this. That level of detail to create the tomes, and her Miranda's like, right, do you want to find out what's in you? Hands her a bunch of manuscripts, and she's like, I don't speak Spanish because she's being completely Americanized, so she doesn't speak Spanish anymore. Miranda throws down an English, Spanish dictionary. Go get stuck in, sort it out for yourself. That kind of. And it is funny because she doesn't know how to say things like gracias and all, and I'm fucking dumb Brit, and I know how to say things like that. So they overplayed the dumb Yank thing a bit, But then again, I've met Americans like that, so maybe not. But you know what I mean. You come from a background, you have some part of language, like the basics, you would know, but she acts completely dumb, which was that bit was a bit too much to handle. But thankfully, it doesn't take over the whole story. You know what I mean? And the fact that her cousin throws it in her face, almost like you've rejected the old ways. And that's what this is kind of about. Moving away, rejecting your past, your culture, your heritage, your family. There's always a way to keep in touch, and she didn't for 20 years. We understand trauma, but at the same time, there's that kind of conscious decision. So that's all these kind of themes are played with, and they're not overbearing. So that's what makes this a really enjoyable movie. Right length of time as well. Generally, some of these movies can be a bit long, but this actually was right length of time, considering that most of it takes place in a room with 4 characters. That's a testament to this movie. And on a simple budget, this is not a CGI fest. There's a lot of practical effects. There's a bit of CGI smoke and stuff, but it's not like green screen type shit. You know what I mean? They use the location, they use props, they use acting to enhance the effects. And once again, that's why I'm saying the pressure's on the actors in this one to make it work. And they do make it work. So that's what makes this movie well worth the watch. I'll not spoil the end because it goes, it's at the very end, it goes a wee bit cheesy. I'll say that about it. It's sort of the very last sort of 10 minutes of the movie, it goes a wee bit overboard. They could have reined that in a bit. If you think Insidious ending, that kind of thing, a bit too much. But that's my only complaint. Honestly, the rest of this movie, I was on board. I wasn't fed up. I wasn't flicking. I wasn't just like, come on, get to the end. Some of these movies, that's what you're wanting to do, just get to the end. But no, this one I was engaged. It told a compelling story. It told a human story. Yeah, definitely the human aspect of this without going overboard or being wishy-washy. And consider the fact this was made in 2020, that's more power to them. It didn't, people talk about diversity and stuff. Here's a diverse cast. It's making use of Mexico's culture. Like I said, that whole blending, it's perfect for horror. We need more, there's a whole world, and horror's done it, it's done it again. It's shown respect to people's lore and brought into an interesting story, and within, it's well worth the watch. So there you go. That's my review. I'm not going to spoil it. Let's just watch it for yourselves. I'll stick a link in the description of a fine one. I keep forgetting to do that. I keep just putting up the description, and I keep forgetting to stick links so people can go watch the movie. But I'm working on that. I'm going to update my previous ones. Stick a link in there so at least you can go and watch the thing. But there you go. Do the usual, shoot, subscribe, can really speak. Subscribe, share, do the typey commenty things. If you've watched this movie, let me know what you think. If you agree, disagree with any points, just once again, put the warnings. If you're going to spoil it, do the spoiler under, hit return a couple of times, don't mess it up for people. And let's have a talk about things, right? So there you go. So until next time, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.